Hello, and welcome to Ageless Guidance. Today, we're tackling a deeply personal and important topic. What happens when you masturbate daily? Together, we'll explore this sensitive subject with the insights of an experienced and compassionate older male doctor. This isn't about judgment or stigma. It's about understanding your body, mind, and overall well-being. Masturbation is one of those topics that often lingers in the shadows. Rarely discussed, but frequently wondered about. Most of us have experienced it at some point. Yet it's surrounded by silence, questions, and stigma. Is it healthy? Are there risks if it becomes a daily habit? Or is it simply a natural part of human biology that we tend to overthink? First, let me assure you, curiosity about your body and habits is completely normal. In fact, it's a sign of self-awareness and growth. Learning what works for you, both physically and mentally, is an essential part of living a balanced and healthy life. In this conversation, we'll examine the physical, psychological, and relational impacts of frequent masturbation, guided by the wisdom and expertise of a seasoned doctor who has spent decades helping individuals achieve healthier, more fulfilling lives. But this isn't just about medical advice or science. It's about creating a safe space to openly discuss something that affects many people without shame or judgment. If you've ever had questions, concerns, or simply curiosity about this habit, you're in the right place. Together, let's uncover the answers you've been seeking. The basics. What is masturbation and why does it matter? Let's start with the basics. What is masturbation and why is it such a significant part of human life? Masturbation is a natural and universal activity. People of all ages, genders, and backgrounds engage in it at some point in their lives. Yet, despite its prevalence, it's often surrounded by mystery and misconceptions. Imagine this scenario. A man in his late 50s reflects on his younger years. He recalls how he stumbled upon this habit but never really understood it. Societal taboos made it difficult to ask questions, leaving him confused. Was it normal? Was it healthy? Decades later, those unanswered questions still linger in his mind. Does that sound familiar? If so, let's clear up some of those doubts. Masturbation is a natural way to explore your body, release tension, and even improve your mood. It's a safe activity without the risks associated with sexual intercourse, such as sexually transmitted infections. Both men and women engage in it, though the reasons and frequency vary greatly depending on personal circumstances, emotions, and life stages. For some, it's a way to relieve stress after a long day. For others, it's a means of connecting with themselves, especially during times when physical intimacy with a partner isn't possible. Masturbation isn't inherently good or bad. It all depends on how it fits into your life. However, when it becomes a daily habit or more frequent, questions naturally arise. Is it still healthy? Are there unintended consequences? If so, how can they be addressed? As an experienced doctor might say, understanding your body is the first step toward caring for it. The focus isn't on judgment, but on staying curious and thoughtful about your habits. Whether this behavior is occasional or part of your regular routine, balance is key. Like most things in life, too much of a good thing can sometimes lead to challenges. Let's talk about the physical impacts. Now that we've covered the basics, let's explore how frequent masturbation affects your body. If it's such a natural activity, could there really be risks involved? The short answer is, moderation matters. The benefits. Masturbation offers several physical benefits when practiced in a balanced way. Improved sleep. After orgasm, hormones like dopamine and oxytocin are released, promoting relaxation and better sleep. Stress relief. It's a natural way to release tension and ease anxiety. Healthy blood flow. For men, this supports sexual function and prostate health. Pelvic muscle strength. For women, it strengthens pelvic floor muscles, vital for reproductive health. Safety. Masturbation doesn't carry the risks of sexually transmitted infections or unintended pregnancies. What happens when it's excessive? When masturbation becomes excessive, concerns can arise. For example, I once had a gentleman in his 60s visit me with soreness and discomfort. After discussing his habits, we found that frequent masturbation, combined with improper lubrication, had caused skin irritation. This is common and can often be resolved with proper care and moderation. Another concern is desensitization. Repeated, excessive stimulation can reduce sensitivity, making other forms of sexual activity less enjoyable. However, this effect is usually temporary and resolves when frequency is reduced or breaks are taken. Finally, there's fatigue. While orgasm typically leaves you feeling relaxed, frequent ejaculation can deplete energy. The body needs time to replenish, and overdoing it can leave you feeling drained instead of refreshed. Your body is resilient. The good news? These effects are rarely permanent. If you experience discomfort or fatigue, scaling back and allowing your body to rest is often enough to restore balance. As a wise doctor might say, your body is like an instrument. It needs care and balance to perform at its best. Listen to it, and it will guide you toward what works. Now that we've covered the physical aspects, let's explore the psychological impacts of daily masturbation. This is where things become more nuanced because our minds are deeply connected to our habits and emotions. Take the story of Robert, a man in his late 50s. After retiring, he found himself with more free time than ever. At first, he turned to masturbation occasionally as a way to unwind. But as weeks turned into months, a pattern emerged. Every time he felt bored, stressed, or lonely, he relied on this habit to fill the emotional void. Eventually, Robert felt like he was losing control. What had once been a choice now felt like a dependency. Stress relief versus dependency. Masturbation can be a healthy way to unwind and reconnect with yourself. But when it becomes the default response to every moment of stress, anxiety, or boredom, it can quietly evolve into an unhealthy dependency. Using it as a crutch instead of addressing the root causes of stress may leave unresolved emotional issues lingering beneath the surface. This reliance can create a cycle where the habit masks the problem instead of helping you overcome it. Another common psychological impact is shame and guilt. Societal taboos and cultural norms around masturbation often make people feel embarrassed or uncomfortable about their habits. This is especially true for older adults who may have grown up in times when these topics weren't openly discussed. But here's the truth. Shame often does more harm than good. Masturbation is a natural part of human biology, and reframing it as such can help alleviate unnecessary guilt. For some individuals, frequent masturbation is tied to excessive pornography use, which can distort perceptions of intimacy. Over time, the exaggerated scenarios portrayed online may lead to unrealistic expectations about real-life relationships. This disconnect can erode confidence and reduce satisfaction in personal relationships, making real-life intimacy feel less fulfilling. Cultivating a healthier mindset. So, how can you approach this habit with balance? The key lies in self-awareness. Ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to, or because I feel I have to? Is this habit enhancing my life, or is it taking away from it? If it feels more like a crutch, it may be time to explore alternative ways to manage stress, such as mindfulness practices, hobbies, or meaningful social connections. As the wise doctor might say, your habits shape your mind just as much as your mind shapes your habits. Choose habits that bring you clarity and peace. Now that we've examined the physical and psychological aspects, let's turn to the social and relational impacts of daily masturbation. While this habit is deeply personal, it doesn't exist in isolation. It can influence how we connect with others. Take Paul, a man in his early 60s. Paul cherished his relationships, especially with his wife of over 30 years. But over time, his solitary habits began to replace the intimacy he once shared with her. Instead of talking, laughing, or spending quality time with his wife, Paul found himself retreating into his own world. It wasn't intentional, but it created a distance that began to strain their relationship. When masturbation starts taking priority over spending time with loved ones, it can lead to feelings of loneliness and disconnection. While the habit itself isn't inherently harmful, it can signal deeper issues, such as boredom, lack of connection, or unresolved emotions. Recognizing these signals is the first step toward addressing the underlying causes. For couples, sexual intimacy is more than just a physical act. It's a way to build emotional bonds. When masturbation becomes a substitute for this connection, it can leave a partner feeling neglected or distanced. Over time, this can erode trust, emotional closeness, and satisfaction in the relationship. Discussing personal habits like masturbation can feel awkward or taboo, especially in long-term relationships where unspoken routines and boundaries have developed. Avoiding these conversations, however, can lead to misunderstandings and resentment. A partner might feel hurt or insecure if they sense emotional or physical withdrawal, even unintentionally. Without open dialogue, these feelings can fester and create more distance. So, what can you do if these challenges resonate with you? It all comes down to communication and balance. If you're in a relationship, take a step toward openness and honesty. Start with a gentle conversation that isn't heavy or judgmental, but rooted in curiosity and care. Together, explore each other's needs and find ways to rekindle intimacy. Sometimes, even small gestures like spending more time together or planning shared activities can reignite the emotional bond. If you're single, reflect on whether your habits might be creating barriers to forming deeper connections. Could this time be spent nurturing friendships or family relationships? Could it be used to explore new hobbies or interests? Often, loneliness isn't solved by withdrawing. It's solved by reaching out. As the wise doctor might say, relationships thrive on connection, not perfection. If you've been pulling away, start taking small steps to rebuild those bridges. Now that we've discussed the social and relational impacts, let's explore how to recognize when masturbation might shift from a healthy habit to something more problematic. Consider David, a 58-year-old man who found himself caught in a cycle he couldn't quite break. At first, he only noticed that he was spending more time alone. Then he realized he was skipping hobbies, avoiding social events, and even delaying work projects. His habit had quietly taken over his schedule, interfering with his responsibilities and relationships. What started as something harmless had grown into a pattern that he felt powerless to control. David knew something needed to change, but he didn't know where to start. This brings us to the first red flag: interference with daily responsibilities. If your habits are causing you to neglect work, family commitments, or personal goals, it might be time to reassess. Healthy habits should enrich your life, not detract from it. The second sign is prioritizing masturbation over meaningful relationships or activities. If you're skipping time with loved ones or avoiding hobbies and activities you once enjoyed, it could indicate that the habit is becoming more isolating than fulfilling. Another red flag is loss of control. Ask yourself, do you feel unable to reduce the frequency, even though you want to? That sense of being stuck can be frustrating and may point to a deeper issue. Finally, there's the emotional toll. If you're feeling shame, guilt, or distress about your habits, it's worth taking a closer look. These emotions can weigh heavily on your self-esteem and overall mental health. The good news is that recognizing these signs is a powerful first step in the right direction. If any of this resonates with you, consider seeking guidance from a counselor, therapist, or trusted medical professional. Asking for help isn't a weakness, it's a sign of strength and self-awareness. As the wise doctor might say, when you feel out of balance, it's a call to realign your habits with the life you truly want to lead. Let's take a moment to hear the perspective of an older, wise male doctor, someone who has guided countless individuals through conversations like these with care and understanding. The wisdom of a seasoned professional who has observed the impacts of this habit over decades can provide clarity and reassurance. Dr. James, a physician in his late 60s, often reminds his patients that the act of masturbation itself isn't the problem. It's the context that matters. He emphasizes that masturbation in moderation is a natural and harmless activity. Problems arise when it becomes compulsive or is tied to unhealthy behaviors, like excessive pornography use. Dr. James frequently uses an analogy. Think of it like enjoying your favorite dessert. A slice now and then brings joy, but eating the entire cake every day might leave you feeling unwell. Balance allows you to enjoy the benefits without the downsides. He also works to dispel common myths surrounding masturbation, especially for older adults. Many worry that daily masturbation might drain their vitality or shorten their lifespan. Dr. James reassures them, your body is incredibly adaptable. Even daily masturbation, when balanced, won't harm your long-term health or life energy. Another key area Dr. James focuses on is the relationship between masturbation and pornography. He explains that excessive pornography use can distort perceptions of intimacy and create unrealistic expectations, which may, in turn, affect real-life relationships. If you find yourself relying on pornography, Dr. James suggests stepping back and reflecting on what intimacy means to you on a deeper, more personal level. Dr. James also highlights the importance of taking breaks to restore sensitivity. Over time, constant stimulation may lead to desensitization, but this effect is usually temporary. The body responds well to rest. He advises that if you feel other forms of intimacy or pleasure aren't as fulfilling, consider stepping back for a few days or weeks. This simple adjustment can make a world of difference. He also encourages patients to reflect on their habits and ensure they align with their values. Healthy habits go beyond the physical. They're about overall well-being. Ask yourself, is this serving my life? If not, don't hesitate to seek support or make changes. Dr. James's wisdom boils down to this. Masturbation itself isn't the issue. It's about how it fits into your life. When approached with awareness and balance, it can be a natural and healthy part of self-care. Now that we've explored insights from an expert, let's focus on how you can find balance and establish healthy habits in your own life. Like any other behavior, masturbation should be something that brings positivity and aligns with your overall well-being. But how do you create that balance? Let me share the story of John, a man in his late 60s who decided it was time for a change. For years, John felt stuck in a routine where his habits dominated his evenings. It wasn't that he disliked the habit, it just left him feeling drained, both physically and emotionally. One day, John made a decision. I'm not giving this up, but I am going to make it a smaller part of my life so I can enjoy the rest of it more. The first step John took was to set limits. He began keeping track of how often he engaged in the behavior and made a conscious effort to reduce the frequency. This wasn't about denying himself. It was about ensuring the habit didn't overshadow other parts of his life. By being mindful, John started to feel more in control and balanced. Next, he explored alternatives. John revisited hobbies he had set aside for years: gardening, woodworking, and daily walks in the park. These activities gave him a sense of purpose and satisfaction that extended beyond his solitary habits. Physical activity, in particular, became a powerful tool for managing stress and boredom. Another significant change John made was prioritizing real connections. He reached out to old friends, spent more time with his grandchildren, and planned date nights with his wife. Through these meaningful interactions, John rediscovered the joy of shared intimacy and connection. He realized that these moments brought a level of fulfillment no solitary activity could match. John also took the time to educate himself about sexual health and mindfulness. He learned that taking occasional breaks from masturbation could restore sensitivity and renew his sense of pleasure. For John, this wasn't a restriction. It was a way to keep things fresh, balanced, and enjoyable. Here's the key takeaway. Balance doesn't mean eliminating a habit. It means integrating it into a life that's rich and diverse. Like John, you can take small steps to create a routine that works for you. Set limits, explore new hobbies, or deepen your connections with others. These small changes may seem simple, but over time, they can truly transform your life. As the wise doctor often says, life is about harmony. When your habits align with your values, they enhance your joy, not diminish it. We've covered a lot of ground today, and I want to take a moment to thank you for joining me in this conversation. Discussing personal topics like masturbation isn't always easy, but understanding these habits is a meaningful step toward living a healthier, more balanced life. Let's recap the key takeaways. Masturbation is a natural and normal part of human sexuality, with physical and psychological benefits like reducing stress, improving sleep, and supporting sexual health. Like any habit, it's important to approach it with balance and mindfulness. In moderation, it can be a positive part of your self-care routine. However, if it starts interfering with your daily responsibilities, relationships, or emotional well-being, it's worth taking a closer look. Recognizing signs of imbalance, whether it's dependency, isolation, or guilt, isn't about judging yourself. It's about understanding where you are now and deciding where you want to go. You've also learned the importance of integrating this habit into a rich and diverse life. By setting limits, exploring hobbies, and prioritizing real connections, you can ensure your habits serve you rather than control you. And remember, there's no shame in seeking help or guidance if you ever feel overwhelmed. It's a courageous step toward living with intention. As the wise doctor might say, life is a journey, and every habit you embrace is like planting a seed in the garden of your well-being. Choose the ones that bloom into peace, joy, and fulfillment, and nurture them with care. Thank you for being part of this thoughtful discussion. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more empowering conversations. Feel free to share your thoughts or experiences in the comments. We're here to learn and grow together. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep living with wisdom.